Hello, you amazing people out there, and welcome to the Amazing Action Comics podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
Woo, it's another week, brother.
Yes.
Another week. And you know what? There were predictions that comic book shops would be closed by now, but we're not there yet. So it's crazy. Yes, some have, but the ones that are evolving and turning into these like pop culture stores, and I'm not going to say like true ones, because where the hell was I? I was somewhere. Oh, shit. What is it called? They're like inside, like, was it Newbury Comics or something like that? They're like a chain.
I don't count Newbury Comics as a comic shop.
Yes, I don't either. They have like one little corner of just books and just like in no real order or anything. And then everything else is just pop culture stuff everywhere. You won't find any really like independent or small press stuff in those stores. But yeah, and the funny thing is it says Newbury Comics.
I know.
So if you're going in there to expect a large collection, I mean, they had a decent, I'd say, a trade section, but single issues. Whoo.
Yeah, I mean, look, going back 30 years, Newbury Comics is always more of that sort of pop culture. It was more of a record store like 30 years ago with some comics, but yeah, they always use that Newbury Comics branding, you know. So
that's so weird.
Which is interesting in New England and like the Boston area. There's a lot of great tiny indie comic shops. There's a few in Salem that's really cool. I don't know if it's still around in Boston. There's a place called 1 Million Year Picnic. That was a really cool tiny indie shop. Yeah.
Huh.
But for some reason, Newbury Comics has that sort of stranglehold, and everybody who goes to New England, they just go to Newbury Comics.
Newbury Comics. Yeah. Well, if you want comics, don't go there. Especially back issues, you're not going to find anything at all. Yeah. It's just horrible. All right, kiddies, welcome to another episode of the Amazing Action Comics podcast. This is the Indie Comic Review and news and reviews and all that good stuff in between that we have for you. New stuff that we have going on. So still this whole Diamond debacle is whatever's going on. When we get more information on it, or finalized information, should we say, because we know that sometime in April is probably when the announcement is going to be made that Diamond is signing off, which means it's just going to leave the two main distributors, Lunar and PRH, to distribute to all of US what's going on. So we'll see what happens there. The only upside to this whole thing is that every year on the first Saturday of May is Free Comic Book Day. It's an event that how should I say? We love to hate and hate to love, kind of. It's a really awesome day, but it's really overbearing. Not just the day itself, but like the preparation to the day, and then the entire day of just being on for whatever hours a shop has going on. I know that we get there sometime in the morning and don't leave till sometime in the evening, which is bonkers, and it's just like nonstop. For those of you that don't know what Free Comic Book Day is, shame on you. But basically, it's a day that's dedicated to books that are reserved, so you don't walk into a comic book store and just take whatever you want off the shelves. Believe it or not, I think in the 20 plus years that it has happened. We're like, no, isn't it Free Comic Book Day? No. There are books that are ordered for that day that are specific for handouts. And the Joker's Child over in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, has been doing it so long that they just got it on lock, where we just kind of like get people flowing through whether they want to purchase something or they don't want to purchase something. When they leave, they pick up their free comic books, and they're kind of like, there's sort of like a menu option that they do, which is pretty cool because it's geared towards it's age appropriate. So from little kids, to adults and stuff like that. And they even do like giveaways for like people that show up extremely early, or if you do some type of like 80s dance, you might get something. But it's such a cool day because it opens up. It's open to everybody. And you don't have to purchase anything, and it's a really good in to get some cool reads and on that day.
Yeah. And the way Joker's Child does it is really cool. It's like first person in the door gets all the free comics. Yeah, otherwise there's the menu options. So you still walk out like with a good, like, I don't know, probably a bundle of like 3.
Oh, easily.
Great. And when this started back in the early 2000s, this was an event that Diamond created, and publishers kind of took that ball, ran with it. So initially there was a lot of I remember one of the early ones. I think Marvel just did a reprint of Ultimate Spider-Man #1 free comic edition. Marvel also always tried to capitalize it by getting by putting a movie out that free comic book day weekend. So case in point, May 2002, that Friday, Spider-Man, Sam Raimi directed, Tobey Maguire starring, Willem Dafoe scenery chewing classic Spider-Man movie. That came out the Friday. The next day, free comic book day. And it was a great way. I always thought that was a great way to drive people into a store on free comic book day, that Marvel was using that as a way. Oh, you saw the movie, now come to the store and get the comics. A lot of things now that the big two do, where they use free comic book day. They do these specials that will launch an event or give a preview an event, which is really cool. And then there's still a little bit of like a reprinting of a classic issue, just slap the free comic book day logo on. But these are comics specially made for free comic book day. And with everything that's going on right now, there was a doubt as to whether or not free comic book day would happen, but it is happening, at least at the Joker's Child. And whatever the status of Diamond is, apparently one of the things I saw is in the sell-off, if there is a sell-off, the branding of free comic book day goes along with that. Yeah.
Well, it's weird because from what I understand, I don't know what comic shop it was, but it was originally started by a comic shop owner, free comic book day, and then kind of merged with Diamond, and Diamond took the reins for it. So
was it Mile High? Was it Chuck Rosansky? Was it that?
I don't remember. You know what? Yeah, I'll look into it, and then maybe
I feel like it might have been like Golden Apple on the West Coast.
Yeah, probably, like or something like that. But we know that Diamond took it over, and it's been something, since that takeover. But I think that it'll be in some form or fashion. I think even with when they sell it off, if it's free combo day sponsored by so and so, then it'll still exist. But it's such a cool day. Yeah, like I said, I'm just completely famished and exhausted. It's unfortunate that I'm going to be missing this year's free comic book day just because whatever, life. But yeah, it's a really cool day, and I love seeing kids come in with their parents, and their parents who don't read comics are so overwhelmed with like, holy shit, this really does exist. Kind of thing, which is pretty cool.
And as we get closer, because it is the first Saturday in May, it's May 3rd. I don't think that there's a movie coming out that weekend this year. Again, I don't think that's happening.
No,
but I think as we creep closer, because I know both you and I combined have a few free comic book days under our belts. Because I was, at the shop in Burlington, Vermont, when free comic book day started, and I did a few of those there, and then the ones we've had at Joker's Child. Maybe as we get closer, we'll kind of share some of our favorite free comic book day memories. Including cool. How I was almost killed by an inflatable Spider-Man.
Well, I don't think it was a Spider-Man itself. I think it was the fumes you were inhaling.
No, it was. I don't want to give too much away, but the inflatable Spider-Man we have at
yes.
We had the same one up at Earth Prime. And I had a brilliant idea to like hang it off the roof because we had roof access.
Oh man.
And it was a very windy day and it needed to be resecured, and I almost lost my life. But we're gonna leave that.
All right.
We're gonna talk about that later.
Your Spidey sense kicked in. All right, cool. Yeah, so we'll keep you updated on what's going on there, and we'll talk about some more free comic book day stuff as it gets closer. Just some other quick news. I know that people are always looking for publishers on the rise. There's a new publisher out there called Ignition Press. They're supposed to be launching in 2025 sometime this year. And it's headed by some people that have been in the industry for quite some time, including Eric Gitter, Philip Sablick, Jamie Rich, and Jeremy Hahn. They're going to be focusing mostly on horror, sci-fi, crime, and fantasy. We don't know who's going to be distributing them. I'm almost positive they'll end up under PRH and Lunar at some point, just because these people have been in the industry for quite some time. The question I have is, where's Distillery going? Because I haven't heard any news about Distillery moving over to either Lunar or PRH.
They are still optimistic that Diamond's going to come out of this.
Oh, dude, there's just no way. I mean, even Dynamite too. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be hearing something within the next month, because March is this weekend. So I mean, they're not huge publishers, but Dynamite's been around. I mean, they're over 10 years old already. So I think they're celebrating their anniversary. So we're going to see where they're going. And Distillery was just formed and then went exclusive to Diamond. And there's a bunch of, well-known artists and creators that fall under there. So yeah, we'll keep you up to date. But yeah, Ignition Press should be launching sometime this year. So look for whatever they got going on. It's always really cool to see these publishers kick in. They got Cullen Bunn is listed as one of their peeps. I think Cy Spurrier is going to be writing some stuff for them as well. So they got I like Cullen Bunn. So his horror stuff is, I don't really read a lot of horror stuff, but I think his take on stuff is really cool. On another note, before I freaking go off on a tangent, so I'm watching this, I guess, documentary on Mike Mignola on freaking whatever channel it is, and it's talking about his, start of his comic career, and then which led into Hellboy and then the Hellboy universe. And I think for anybody who's looking, and this is the one thing that I really liked about this documentary, because he started in DC and Marvel and doing for stuff, and very early on, he freaking knew that he did not want to draw superheroes because that wasn't his thing. Like he liked like cemeteries and dark stuff and creatures and monsters and stuff like that. And I think force feeding that stuff, like he wanted to get into sort of like that, not the genre, he wanted to get into the market. He wanted to be able to get his foot into the door. So obviously DC and Marvel were the biggest ones. He's on the West Coast, moves to the East Coast, just sitting, dude, it's crazy. Like back in the 80s, you could just walk into the bullpen, just stand there. And if somebody needs something, they say, hey, I know you're not very good, but come and do this. So he was like inking other people's work and stuff like that. And he did a decent amount of work. I forgot what comics he was on. I want to say Daredevil. He did some. I know he was inking over a lot of people.
Yeah.
Then he got an opportunity to do some comics as well, but he knew deep down inside that was not what he wanted. He didn't want to do the superhero genre. And so he ended up doing fucking on a whim this art piece for I don't know what promo, whatever it was, and there was like a little space inside that was missing something, and that's where he just named it Hellboy. It wasn't even Hellboy. It wasn't even a picture of Hellboy. And then that's it. It stuck, and stories started coming, and the art started coming, and I was like, I never really read any Hellboy because it wasn't that I wasn't interested, but after watching this documentary and seeing his fucking style, which is so close, it's like Frank Miller, but in color.
Yeah.
So Frank Miller has just a really good use of light and shadow. He works in black and white, so you got Sin City and stuff like that, which is great. And then you've got Mike Mignola, who's inspired by you can see a little Jack Kirby-ish in there, but definitely some Frank Miller stuff. And just, dude, his use of black on a fucking page to make something pop. And that whole tone of that book, dude, it inspired me. I had to go out and I had to buy volume number 1, Seed of Destruction, just so that I can read it. And like, it's a freaking master class in how to use black to make something pop, because there's not a lot of color and it's all flat really. So as you got the black and then you got some flat colors, but dude, kudos to him.
Oh yeah.
Like it's the line work is really loose, but it's really fucking awesome. And it's a really great example of knowing your lane. Like you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. You really love this. And he stuck to it. And he had no fucking like vision to create a universe. And it's so funny because he's like one of these creators who's really like, he wears everything close to the vest. So he hates giving stuff up to people. But in this day and age, he's let go of the reins a little bit. And now you have this whole fucking universe they call it the Mignolaverse. He hates the fucking name. But it's just
the
crazy.
Hellboy universe, but
the Hellboy
or
universe.
the BPRD universe, or
But BPRD came later on, right? So he had all his Hellboy shit, and then but then even like all like the Frankenstein stuff, the Lobster Johnson,
all
feeding into it, and then bringing in all these different creators that kind of take their take on his universe. Fucking fantastic. Just it's a really great story. And he's had really good success, and then like his quarrels with the movies and stuff like that, and sort of like his affirmation or realization of Hellboy in the comics, that's his thing. And who was it? The Toro that did the freaking movies. Yeah, he's like, that's his universe. That's his take on Hellboy. And he sort of had like this revelation because he was really fucking pissed off about the relationship that Hellboy had with what's her face, because that's not in the comics.
Liz Sherman. Yeah. That was created for the movie. I mean, and so it's funny because the first Hellboy movie, I feel that's a near perfect movie. I think
love it.
Ron
Perlman,
fantastic. Is fantastic. You have that character that's created for the movie who is new to that world, so he's your audience stand-in, and I think that works really well. But the most of that movie is a really good, almost one-to-one adaptation of Seed of Destruction. And one of the neat things about Mignola's career path is, if you notice, that first Hellboy story has a writing credit to John Byrne, because Mike was new to storytelling on his own, and he had made these connections while working with DC and Marvel that he was able to, and John Byrne was with Dark Horse at that point, so he was able to have John Byrne kind of help him get this ball rolling, which is really cool. Couple things like kind of pre-Hellboy high profile stuff for me that really stood out for Mike Mignola. Two things he did for DC specifically, besides some awesome Detective Comics covers when Norm Brayfogle started drawing. Gotham by Gaslight, one of the first Elseworld graphic novels written by Brian Augustin, leans real into his desire to do something not superhero-esque, because it's a Victorian era Batman versus Jack the Ripper type story, and his rock-hewn, I always like his art. To me, it's like he chiseled it out of stone, right? Yes. Everything is really cool, and it really shines in that. He also did a great series with Jim Starlin for DC, Cosmic Odyssey, and again, that's playing with Jack Kirby's New Gods, throwing a little Batman, Superman in the mix as well. But yeah, Kirby vibes all over that place. For me as a kid, what the single comic that really, before I saw any of this stuff, that really brought him to my attention was post 300 Incredible Hulk, and I think the issue's like 311, 312, or 313. But after issue 300, Hulk gets banished to this place called like the Nexus or whatever, right? And Hulk is sort of wandering around this like Doctor Strange type astral realm with other monsters and creatures. So it really leaned, and it's an early Mike Mignola. It looks more traditional. It's not that rock-hewn art style. Right. But it's Hulk, who is a monster, just dealing with other monsters with crazy psychedelic weird backgrounds. So again, getting out of that superhero box even early on in his career. And this one specific issue was great because it retells the origin of the Hulk. But the idea, it introduced I think Bill Mantlo wrote it. It introduced the idea that Hulk kind of was a persona, was always there under the surface, even as a child, and the concept that he had the abusive father, which is carried over into the current Hulk comics, as well as the Ang Lee Hulk movie and things like that. But a fantastic issue, and I think he was inked by Gary Talaoc, Talaoc, I think. Yeah. And whenever you see young Bruce in these flashbacks, there's this green outline of the Hulk over him.
Oh, cool.
And you see the Hulk reacting in anger, in pain, whenever Bruce is like abused by his dad or does something to the mom. I mean, it is one of the greatest single issues of the Hulk out there. And it is a really great example of an artist on the cusp, on the verge of leaving one style and developing
going to the next.
Yeah,
it's just so cool. If you're just joining us, we're talking about this documentary that we saw on Mike Mignola, and how, he's just his whole entire story was just fantastic, and just a creator being able to find his path by going in the wrong way, but getting his foot into the door and making really good relationships and connections that allowed him to be able to find his path and do what he's doing and create his entire universe. So kudos to him, man.
I had the luxury of meeting him once.
Oh, really?
At one of the MoCA, Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art festivals, which is really an indie comic celebration. And
nice guy.
Oh, really nice guy. Very, like you said, close to the vest, very reserved. So I used to volunteer for CBLDF, Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. They provide legal aid to comic shops and comic creators who were dealing with censorship, First Amendment right issues. And so he was the honoree that weekend of signing. And I had to do it. I had to bring my hardcover Starman Omnibus, I think volume 3, 3 or 4. And there was a two-part Batman Hellboy Starman mini that they did, and that's reprinted in there. And I said, look, I would love for you to sign a page in this book. And he goes, okay, what page do you want me to sign? And I open up, and it's a splash page of Hellboy and Jack Knight Starman just beating on a pile of Nazis, just punching Nazis, and they're standing on Nazis they've punched and beat up. And he goes, I will absolutely gladly sign that. And he signed it where it just looks like it's on the page, like it's actually on the artwork. It's a really nice signature. But one of the
that's cool.
Coolest things from that weekend was, I don't know if you remember, but in the early 90s, Topps, TOPPS, the baseball card company, they got into comics. And I think their first comic that they launched out the gate was a comic adaptation of Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Horny Dracula, right? The Gary Oldman, Horny Dracula, Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves, terrible accent, Winona Ryder, right? And Anthony Hopkins, fun movie, really cool movie. His adaptation, I think it's like a 3-issue adaptation, is next level, right? And it was, Topps polybag with a trading card and all that, whatever the gimmicks of the 90s were. But Topps went defunct. The rights to that book, I forget who had the rights, but they had just released this, this is why he was at MoCA. They had just released an oversized hardcover collection of that miniseries, but all in black and white.
Oh,
the original comic was color. This is all in black and white. Gorgeous, so gorgeous. And so he's there, he's signing, and a guy comes up with one of the pages of the original art from that miniseries.
Wow.
And Mike Mignola was like, this is amazing. Thank you for bringing this for me to sign. Like it wasn't like, where did you get this? It was just he was so, it was weird. You could almost see the memories of him working on the page just flooding back as he was reholding this piece of art. Really cool moment.
Dude, and he's still fucking drawing today.
Oh yeah,
every day he needs to get up and just freaking draw. It's a really great story. So I mean, if you guys haven't read any Hellboy, I'm in the process of reading Seed Destruction. It's great so far, and for me it's just looking at the art, and it's like, all right, we know that art is subjective, but you're looking at genius, or you're looking at somebody who knows their style. So like your Frank Miller knew his style, Jim Lee, and you look at Jim Lee next to Mike Mignola, they couldn't be any further apart from how they use light and shadow and detail. Like Mike Mignola's almost no detail, but yet your imagination goes wild with the detail that's supposed to be there. Like the missing stuff. Yeah, all the information is missing and you fill it in. Whereas Jim Lee, you're like, holy shit. This is fucking, there's nothing for you to really think about. It's just for you to freaking admire because it's so beautiful to look at. Where you look at Mike Mignola, you're filling it all as information, and that's what makes it beautiful, is the simplicity of it. It's just crazy.
But yet there's also these incredible details that he will put in, like in Gotham by Gaslight, the stitching on Batman's mask, or the tiny knives on the belt, or Hellboy, the rosaries on the gun, the little pouches on his belt that he has. I mean, it is, but you're right, that light and shadow that he does, and some of the more horrific elements. Yeah, he plays game where you make it worse in your mind than he can ever put it on the page.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I think it was on Amazon Prime, but I can't remember. If I remember, I'll put it in notes or mention it next week or something like that. But definitely check it out. All right, cool, kiddies. All right, we're done with the news. We're going to shift into what we call the reviews. But I'm kind of do. We only have one book for this week, which is what John read. But I'm going to recap or just go over some books that I've continued to read. That way I can just let you know that I am still reading them because these are pretty cool. Behemoth issue number 2 came out. Now, listen to me very carefully. If you've not read this book, this is why comics exist. Seriously, it's a no thinking, fun ride of really fucking over the top. This possibly could never happen, but should happen in real life. So the basics. Go ahead.
And we loved the first issue. We raved about the first issue. I think the log line for the first issue was Godzilla meets Speed.
Yes.
But then
yes.
At the end of the first issue, something happens to take it to a whole different level. Right.
And the second issue, which is just as freaking great as the first issue, lets the reader know not to get used to any effing character because everybody's up for grabs. So basically, in a nutshell, you have the protagonist who's right there in the center. I forgot her name. She's the main portion, and everybody surrounding us is supporting cast. You got this kaiju that pops out of nowhere, swallows them by the end of the first issue, and in the second issue, you're in the belly of the beast, and now they're trying to get out. Which is freaking great because what would you expect? You expect stomach acid, so they can't go into the water. And then towards the very end, obviously, we have parasites in our belly that break down stuff. There's shit in the belly of the beast that's going to start breaking stuff down. So really, really cool. Left in a really awesome cliffhanger. Lost a character that I was really sad about, but fuck yeah. It almost reminded me of the Red Wedding.
And a great first issue because it really is just a breakneck pace. You get introduced to a couple of main characters, and then it's just really, just go. It's Manhattan pretty much gets destroyed. That was a little unnerving.
Yes.
Being so close to Manhattan. Much better than the Godzilla movie from the mid-90s that took place in Manhattan.
Yes. Oh my God.
100% Matthew Broderick free, this comic. And this is one of those comics where I loved it so much that I recommended it to enough people at the shop that when the second issue came out, I didn't get a chance to get it. So I'm looking forward to checking it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Behemoth from Dark Horse Comics. Check it out. The creative team on this is superb. Guys, keep it up. I'm in for the ride. All right, another one. This is issue 12. So we made it a year with Thundercats, which I'm really excited about. Declan Shalvey has been doing a fantastic job writing on this book. I hope he stays on it. For me, you can change the creative team as far as the art, the ink, the letters, and stuff like that. But keep the writer on this because we're getting something that, is expanding off of the Thundercats animated universe. So there's some stuff that's like true. They escape the third Earth, blah, blah, blah. You have the mutants from the reptiles to, we just get introduced to the vultures here, to Monkeyians, all that stuff, and Mumra. But there's some deeper background that we didn't get from the animations that he's digging into, which I really dig, especially with Jaga, who died in the cartoon early on and came back as a spirit to kind of like lead Lionel in the right direction. He's here as well, but he's using a different character for a different means, which is really effing cool. And this issue, we didn't even get any of Lionel. We got some more backstory on some other stuff that's going on. A year in, and I'm still hooked. So, Declan, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. If you leave this book, I swear to the Almighty, I probably will not read it unless it's somebody who has just, what leaves what you're left off at. But yeah, check it out. The other thing that I'm worried about is that this is Dynamite book. No. So Dynamite, get your shit together. Let us know if you're going to Lunar or to PRH or what's up. I need some more Thundercats and some more Silverhawks because that first issue was great as well. And we're waiting on some Herculoids. So hopefully, fingers crossed, as much as I hate, and I mean, oh no, it's not them. No, they do it too, right? Hold on. I'm going to check right now.
The barcode?
Yeah, because I think it's mostly Boom, but yes. Hate what you do with the barcode. Not cool. Get your shit together. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's just a pet peeve that I have. There's just no standardization of barcodes. Just
go back and watch through all of our episodes. There's rants peppered throughout and a full explanation, I think, about a year.
I think there was like a nerve popping out of my forehead and I was so face red. But the book is freaking good. So they've got some really great stuff going on in Dynamite. It's not just Red Sonja and freaking Vampirella and all this stuff anymore, which are still good reads for, you know, the people that read them. It's just really good to see them on this IP kick. But because we don't know about distribution, what's going to happen to those IPs? You need money to afford to pay for IPs. So, yeah, Dynamite, fingers crossed. Want some more Thundercats, Silverhawks.
New Jersey's own Dynamite Comics.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's what I have. And I believe you have a new comic book.
I do.
It is called
Let This One Be a Devil. Speaking of New Jersey's own, this is a comic about the New Jersey Devil, not the hockey team, which originally was from Texas. And then when they came over here, they were like, oh, New Jersey has a cryptid called the New Jersey Devil. We'll be the New Jersey Devils, which worked out really well for them. Great logo. I'm a hockey fan, not a big hockey fan, but I'm a Ranger fan through and through. But I do love the Devils logo. I think it's really cool. And yes. I like that they acknowledge the state that they moved to. So this is from Dark Horse Comics. And the Tiny Onion imprint, which is the imprint of James Tynion IV, the very prolific James Tynion IV. He works for everybody, anywhere, anytime. He's very much good at, you know, giving you a whole bunch of issues right away, right on time, taking a little bit of a break, and then just coming back full throttle on these books. So like Department of Truth is one of his biggest titles. I believe that's with Image. Did a good solid almost 2 years.
Great
Took
book.
A few months off. Now back with another go round, and it's just as good. So he's a guy who writes a lot but knows how to pace himself, right? So previously he had done a Project Blue Book, a couple miniseries having to do with real life alien encounters, as you know. So the first issue dealt with, I think we reviewed it, Betty and Barney Hill, one of the first recorded people to say that they were abducted by aliens. And it was, you know, he just kind of went through the known facts as they are out there for everyone to see, and then did some really good character work to kind of get inside Betty and Barney's heads as they were dealing with this experience, this encounter that they had. And one of the neat things was at the back of each issue was a true weird story, and it was a black and white backup, mostly written by other people and rotating artists as well. And he worked with the great Michael Avon Oeming on the two Project Blue Book stuff. So now he's back with it's called A True Weird Story. And again, Let This One Be a Devil. And so he partnered, as far as with writing, with Steve Fox. This time around, the artist is one of our favorites, Piotr Kowalski, fresh off of the second volume of Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac.
Awesome.
Color by Brad Simpson, letter by Tom Napolitano. You got Tiny Onion editor Greg Lockard. You have your Dark Horse editor Daniel Chabin, assistant editor Chuck Howard-Leese, another assistant editor Foster R. Cutbins, Rex Z designer and digital art technician Joey Weaver. And this is like one of the coolest comics. I can't wait for the whole thing to come out. Because it was a little bit of a light first issue. Again, I'm with you on like this should have been a little bigger, a little chunkier. But the way it's telling the story is really neat. So for those of you who don't know, every state has their own cryptid, right? And so New Jersey is not alone in having a monster that is home. You know, New Jersey is its home. So in the Pine Barrens, southern New Jersey, far southern, more southern from where we are, there is this creature that they say has existed in those woods since the 1700s. And there have been recorded sightings as early as the early 1900s, but I think it even goes a little bit deeper. And so what Tinian and Fox are doing with this is they're kind of giving you a history, but with a bit of a fictional narrative as well, for a possibly fictional cryptid, right? So we start in January of 1909. You meet this, your main protagonist is this guy who, at that time you were either book smart or you were like farm smart, right? Or, or factory smart. And so this woman, after her husband passed, she has these two sons. One went off and got an education, and now he's back. The other one, the younger brother, he's working in the factories, or he's trying to get jobs in the factories, specifically the factory where his father worked at, where his father was killed, right? So this is sort of this rough and tumble world of 1909 that we're living in. And the older brother goes out to investigate some noises outside the house. And what he sees is not a fox. It's not an owl. It is something else. And so you sort of get that world, you get that relationship, you get his interactions with other people in the town. And he's asking people, hey, has something happened to your chickens? Because the chickens were slaughtered and things like that. And so he's sort of trying to investigate exactly what it was that he saw. When everybody else insists, it was an owl or a fox. And he's like, no, man, this thing was slaughtering chickens. I tried to shoot it with the shotgun and it ran up the trees and flew away. Right. So, and like I said, some of these accounts like that, these are on record. They're in newspapers from that era of people in that area seeing something. Right. So then after you sort of get that introductory scene, you then flash back to 1735. And this is the mythology we know of the Jersey Devil. As the story goes, mother leads. She had 12 kids. Her 13th kid is being born. It's a really difficult, painful birth. She curses the child. She says, let this one be the devil. And the baby comes out. And then you see kind of what happens to this baby. And again, it all tracks with the established mythology of the Jersey Devil. And then boom, man, you're off to the horn-headed, horse-head, bat-wing, cloven hoof races, man. You are out the gate. Boom, you're in Jersey Devil land. And so the next issue is going to kind of pick up with, the aftermath of the birth, and we're still going to follow this other guy's story in 1909, and we're going to see how far, I guess, he's going to go with these sightings of the Jersey Devil. But right now, these two time periods is taking place are fantastic. Really great character work, especially from the family that you're following in 1909. And can't say enough about Piotr Kowalski's artwork. Talk about a guy who is comfortable with his style. And his style not only lends itself to something contemporary where monsters lie, but as far as doing something for this time period, I mean, he does the research.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, there's, this is like sepia tone for the birth, right? This little flashback to 1735. But like when he draws the town and the buildings in 1909, I mean, it's, like I said, this is a guy who does the work. This is just really neat. Just a nice establishing panel there, and then just to kind of give you a nice tease of what we're dealing with here. That's just, look at that. And that's like the third page. I'm not really spoiling anything, but that's there he is. Cool. And I opted for the B cover by Piotr Kowalski as well, although the other two covers were fantastic and gorgeous. But I really love this guy's art style. This is such a great transition, a next thing for him to do after the Where Monsters Lie. And you can tell he's having a really good time with this.
Cool. So definitely worth it?
Absolutely. I think, anyone who lives in New Jersey has to actually get this with their driver's license because this is us. This is our history.
Yes. Yeah, and James Tinian, he's a solid writer. I mean, this big book right now, Something's Killing the Children. I think that's been optioned for some kind of movie or TV something. Nice House on the Lake was a great freaking 12-issue maxi series, which is great. Obviously, he started with Department of Truth as far as the stuff that I started reading. World Tree, the first issue of that was pretty cool. And he does stuff for the mainstream as well. But he's his stuff is like in that zone of horror. Freaking conspiracy theory stuff is just he kind of like owns that space. So really solid writer. So if you're looking for that type of genre, definitely hit up James Tynion because you will not be disappointed at all. Really solid writer.
And I can't say enough. I can't say enough for his character work as well, because he, in order to tell these kind of stories, you really got to draw the reader in with some really fully developed characters. And I think he first came on my radar. You said mainstream stuff when he was doing Detective Comics in the Rebirth era. And what he did was he made a Batman team book, and it was, yes, Batman at the center, but you had a team of Tim Drake and Batgirl and a reformed Clayface and the strength in that run, was all the character stuff. It wasn't the action. It was the, so I can't say enough about his character work. And I love the subject matter that he chooses to deal with. World Tree is about, basically internet run wild, right? Yes. Department of Truth is about all the government conspiracy theories, with a really interesting head of this Department of Truth, right? I don't want to ruin anything of that. Something to Killing Children is very serial killer focused with tons of spin-offs. Nice House by the Lake I haven't read. I know he's also doing it's not a sequel or a prequel, it's running concurrent with the main. It's called Nice House by the Sea.
Yes. Well, Nice House on the Lake is done, and then C is out now. I don't know what issue it's on. Yeah,
but it's taking place right around, I think, the same time, because it's about an event that's happening across the world. So Deviant is another one. I think it's got one issue to go. Great writer, great character work. Every character feels lived in.
Yeah, and I think you're raising a really good point, because most people, if you mention comics to non-comic book readers, they still feel that it's just all DC and Marvel superhero stuff. And there is some, stuff out there. On the independent market, it's not as much as I would like there to be. And I think when you look at sort of like the superhero book, you can be a little bit more loose around the character developments and maybe even the stories themselves. But the type of books that James writes, the character development is part of that story, that lineage of the main storyline. And I think the way that he writes characters allows a story to unfold even more. So you're getting more from that, understanding what the character's motives are, understanding who the character actually is, allows you to give the tonality of the book. So yes, the comic book medium is a visual medium, and he gets together with some really solid creators that give you some great visuals. But I think the way he writes the books, because sometimes they're not wordy. I mean, like Scott Snyder, whenever he does a brand new book, I think it's more of a prose with pictures than it is a comic. But they find once you get into the later issues, there's less writing, but the writing itself, every single word is there for a reason. And I think he writes that way, he writes with purpose, which is what I'm a long way of what I'm trying to say. So if you're looking for sort of like that masterclass of how comics should be written, especially in this type of genre and style, you won't be disappointed with James Tynion, because solid writer.
And one thing I did fail to mention is, while it is a little light on the main story, just like the Blue Book, there is the backup, a true weird backup story called Shattered and Shook. It's a 6-pager, black and white, written by Rachel Deering and illustrated by Jesse Lonergan, lettered by Aditya Bidikar. And these are fun. There's not a lot of room for heavy character development in 6 pages, but it's a cute, spooky little ghost story at the end. So you do get a little bit more, but I just, I love the Jersey Devil so much. Ever since I was a kid, I just wanted more, and I can't wait for more.
Nice. All right, so there you go, folks. We're at the end. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. If you want to be on the podcast, you're a creator and want to promote yourself and or a project you got coming up, amazingactioncomics.com/podcast. Fill out the form. John and I would love to have you on the show. We are looking to add on more to our online library. So if you're a creator and you want to get some exposure out there, visit AmazingActionComics.com. Look for the submission button and check out what we got going on there. You can also find out some more news and events that we got going on at Amazing Action Comics. Last but not least, support your local comic shop, guys. Seriously, I mean, we've got some stuff that's been going on in the market lately. We're hoping that it's not really going to affect the mortar stores, but time will tell what's going on there. And the only way that these guys will stay around is if you walk in and say, hey, show me your best comics, because I want to buy them, because I listen to Angel and John every Monday and they said, yo, go to the comic shop. So I did. All right, John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where you can get all these books that we recommend. You could beat me to the punch by getting a second issue if I recommend the first issue to you. It's a fun game we like to play. Another fun game we like to play is this whole year we're doing the Amazing Action Comics Indie Comic Challenge. And the challenge is to you, the reader. If you have a steady diet of superheroes, grab an indie comic, grab something a little different, have a little broccoli on your plate and not just the meat and potatoes.
Yum, yum.
Get yourself a full diet. Let us know what indie comics you're trying out. And if you enjoy them, you can either reach out to us in the comment box, or you could see me at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and let me know what you're checking out. Or if you're not in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, go to your local comic shop and tell them I'm taking the Indie Comic Challenge. Give me a great new indie book to read along with my superhero stuff.
Yeah. And, you mentioned something really weird. I'm just going to kind of just see if I can look it up real quick while I have it. But I want to give a shout out to Speak Geek Studio 1867 because we did the review on Bug Wars and they went out, they got it, and he said, thank you for the recommendation. So Speak Geek Studio 1867, anytime, brother or sister.
Woo, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, if you read an indie comic or a small press comic, leave us a comment and we'll give you a shout out as well. Just want to make sure you guys are getting into some good reads. All right. That'll do it for us. So until next time, please, please, please be amazing, stay amazing, and read something amazing.